wrote down some things you said that would make a great title.
Okay.
I'll read them back to you. You get to pick your favorite, and then we can let you get about your day.
Awesome.
Oh, the future, a midlife reckoning. Who shows up for me? Or then you said who shows up for us. So either one of those works. I'll try to make it short. This is what it's like to be happy. Watch me. Don't judge me based on your own limitations. The Gurgle, or Oh Dear Diary.
What about be present? He said be present too.
You did say be present right at the end.
Which ones do you like, friends?
See, I don't know if I want to be serious or funny. That's my problem. That's why I turned it over to you.
I like Don't Judge Me Based on Your Limitations.
All right.
Yeah. But also the Gurgle is kind of funny.
It is funny.
Yeah. Yeah. The Gurgle. Let's do the Gurgle. Yeah. Yeah. The Gurgle. Yeah.
All right.
It's clickbaity enough.
Yeah, it is clickbaity.
Yeah.
All right. And Bez, you're still recording?
Go ahead.
Welcome to season 7, episode 12, The Gurgle.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I am S.A. Baz Collins here with my co-host
Vance Bastion.
And today we have Shawn Hitchins in the hot seat. Best known for sparking the global wave of ginger pride by marching hundreds of redheads through the streets of Edinburgh, Shawn Hitchins is an award-winning entertainer and author who has toured throughout Canada, the US, and the UK. From stage to page, Hitchins moves his audience with laugh-out-loud humor. Lol. We have to get back to that. I have a funny story about that. Okay. And devastating truth as he strives for greater understanding of love, work, and family. Shawn, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
I just want to bring up what the LOL reference was. Okay. I was watching QI, and they said that at some point somebody had yelled out when a comedian was performing on stage, and they just went LOL. LOL. And he says, "Can you imagine if that becomes the norm for all these young kids growing up?" LOL.
Oh, bad.
Oh, the future. The future.
All right. That aside, how did it start for you? Where did the fire begin? You know, what got you from, I guess you were entertaining. What made you decide to start writing things down?
I think I did a show and I was doing like really bad. I can just say solo shows. It's implied that they're bad. But I was really experimenting with at Buddies in Bad Times Theater, which is the big North American queer theater based in Toronto. And there was this festival called the Rhubarb Festival where anything really goes. And then after a show, we had a bunch of gay rags at that time throughout the gay community here at Church in Wellesley. And one of the editors of one of those magazines said, "Hey, will you start writing 500-word pieces?" And the more I performed, the more I would be offered to write. And then when the Ginger Pride thing, which was a total joke that went, the biggest joke I've ever told. After that, I got a development deal, which was like film and TV and movie and blah, blah, blah. And the bobblehead, somebody wanted to make a bobblehead out of me. And the only thing they didn't take was a book. And ECW, in a meeting with them, they were like, "Hey, let's just write a book." And so the first book was about trying to figure out how my practice on stage would turn into a collection of essays. And then the next one just came from that.
So can I ask about the Ginger Pride thing, especially for folks who don't know what we're talking about?
Right. What that is. So the Edinburgh Festival is the largest fringe festival in the world. I think it's second to, I think it's above Australia. Australia has a giant fringe festival as well. It's a lot. It's a lot of shows, thousands of performers, thousands of solo shows. And to really cut your teeth there is very difficult. So I did it 1 year in 2011 and really just bombed. I bombed. I couldn't get anybody in my audience. Anyway, but that's typical. Like typical audience at Edinburgh is 2 people per show.
Okay.
And it's good if you get 2 people in your show. So I came back and I felt like really sort of beaten up. And then I was in an interview with a writer for Now magazine. And he said, "Hey, are you ever going to go back to Edinburgh?" And I said, "If I do, I'm going to march thousands of redheads through the streets in a giant protest."
There you go.
And so then I was offered a giant venue, which my first venue was 25 seats. And then the second one was 200. And so I had 200 seats to fill a night. And so I just got permission from the Edinburgh Council to do a Ginger Pride March. And then with a plucky 20-year-old publicist, we managed to get the most publicity in the history of the festival.
Nice.
We ended up on BBC World Service, CNN, and it still plays out now. And it's part of the reason why there's a ginger emoji now.
Nice.
There was no ginger emoji.
Excellent. I
and
love
we're
that.
only allowed one expression. We don't have any emotions. We just have that one ginger man or woman face. That's all we have. But we've got it. So,
You did get it. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, it will haunt me on the internet forever.
Yeah, but claims to fame
Could
and
be
all.
worse.
It could be worse.
So we're actually here today to talk about your memoir, The Light Streamed Beneath It.
Yes.
Do you want to give us the backstory?
This is a midlife reckoning. It's what happened when my life just completely fell apart just before I turned 40. And it was paired with a sort of like, I don't want to call it like a midlife crisis. Yeah, probably. Let's call it a midlife unraveling. And then my soulmate and ex-husband died in a tragic accident. And then 5 months later, my fiance, on and again, off again, he completed suicide. And so I just sort of had to, I had to write myself out of that place. And what came from it was this book.
That's deep.
Yeah. Not.
I don't think they have a Hallmark card for that though.
Yeah, they don't. But they have a 200-page book.
There you go.
There you go. So did you approach it with your unique sense of humor, or is it truly just putting it out there?
For the first time, like the way that I always processed humor was a form of therapy for me. The first book is what I call before therapy, and the second book is what I call after therapy. And for the first time in my life, I challenged myself not to use humor to or to joke about what happened to me, because what happened to me wasn't actually funny. Mm-hmm. But it's not a bummer. It's not a downer. I do use humor and I break the tension, but it's more about how I shift tension rather than sort of constantly breaking it over and over and over again.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. One of the topics your publicist sent us, and this is the one I want to dive into, is grief, love, sex, community, and the beautiful absurdity of being alive from a queer perspective. Mm-hmm. How does that play into the novel or the memoir?
Well, I think here's what I think. I think queer grief is its own thing. I think that our identities are shaped and formed in the face of death. I think our celebrations are a celebration of the body in all its forms, shapes, and sizes. Mm-hmm. What I don't think we're aware of is how based in aliveness and death our rituals are. So that was my exploration as to how do we process grief, how do we process death from both a queer perspective and in face of heteronormative threads.
Can you share just a little bit of?
Yeah, a little bit of it. Like when Matt died of in a sort of like an accident, a fire-related accident, and because of his age, his death was processed as the first thing people asked was, did he complete suicide? No. Our deaths, as much of our lives, are covered up, some often by our families. And it was sort of a bit of an opening in terms of like seeing what needs to happen, because I had to explain that Matt died at 32 of an accident. And then the reverse of that situation was that David, who was turning 40, completed suicide 5 months after. And then I had to actually deal with suicide, and the ramifications of that, the unraveling of that, the aftermath of that, and the anger that came from that. Yeah. So, and to have both of these experiences and balancing them, I really did tap into some Larry Kramer rage, which was, I still struggle with how do we stop the cycle of self-harm in the community,
right?
And if we don't talk about it, if we don't offer stories of transformation and change that are based in our lived experiences rather than stories that are about like this is a queer transformation story in the way that like there's no the reveal isn't there. There's no like our transformation stories are like we go into the houses of straight people and we make them like we make their living spaces not so horrible,
right?
Or or we reveal a dress in the middle of a number and the audience goes crazy. Those are our transformations stories that are at the forefront of mainstream media, and we really need to start doing the patchwork and filling in our lived experiences.
Right. So you advocate opening up instead of shutting down.
Yeah. I mean, if I had shut down, I wouldn't be alive right now. I can say that because I've worked that out through therapy with an incredible therapist, and I was very lucky that I had access to affordable mental health care, and that I lived in a country with socialized medicine, universal health care. I was very lucky that when I started to fall, my community picked me up, and so I'm highly privileged in that area, and in terms of my recovery and what it took for me to get back on my feet. Yeah. But if I had shut down, I don't think I would have been alive.
Right.
Yeah.
So throughout the healing process, you mentioned community. Are you specifically referring to a queer community, like your support group, or is it a mix of everybody?
I think it's a mix of everybody. I think the question that a lot of queers ask themselves, whether unconsciously or subconsciously, is who shows up for me? I think that is the biggest question that we are challenged with, identifying who shows up for us in those crucial moments. And it doesn't really matter the identity. What it matters is that the body is there, the spirit is there, and the person is there to help you.
Right. So I was going to say, after you're laughing, which is good, because that means that after the tragedy and after the healing, you found humor again. Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to come back to my career. I don't want to be talking about this unfortunate 2 years of my life for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
It doesn't really identify me. It's not the thing that I'm going to align myself with. I'm not going to become an influencer. I'm not going to go on the speaking tour and start talking about like
Yeah, I was
the
going to ask you
human.
when your TED Talk happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
What is my? Yeah, that's the route, and that was sort of like a cold sweat that I had with the publisher
Mhm.
right before it came out. I was like, oh my god, am I going to have to start doing those like squares on Instagram that are inspirational quotes? I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I think that
You want the Mrs. Maisel with the pretty dresses.
yeah, I want the Mrs. Maisel. That
Okay, henceforth you shall be known as Midge.
Midge, call me Midge. I think like the goal of any recovery is to come back to your community, to your work, to your faith, to your whatever it is, and rebuild a good life. That's what you're challenged to do with whatever sort of takeaways and knowledge you want to bring to it. My only thing is that the reason that I used to be on stage was that to feel my body was that, that junky adrenaline rush of addiction that like there is no better high than an audience. And I've sort of found that through cycling, which is the same thing. Like I can get into the flow and I can cycle for 4 or 5 hours and get the exact same sensation of being on stage. So my path back into comedy and humor is going to be finding a way that it just feels good.
Well, it's interesting because you're following a line of a lot of comedians. I mean, people talk about, how fabulous Margaret Cho is, but if you read her books, they're quite
Mhm.
dark. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things that she went through in her life that totally informs her brand of humor. And the
Mhm.
reason why I think people relate to it is that you can see some of the darkness in what she's saying, but she morphs it into an absurd kind of conclusion that people go, oh yes, okay, we don't have to take ourselves quite so seriously in every dark moment of our lives. And I just find it refreshing when comedians are able to take that transformation and say, okay, this is something that was really painful.
Mhm.
And out of it, part of the human survival instinct is to find some way to see themselves through,
Mhm.
and I think that, so, I mean, your book is right in line with a lot of other comedians who have gone through those kinds of things. So, consider
Mhm.
yourself in great company,
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I think there's an Esther Perel quote that she said that there was laughter in hell. And
Mhm.
I keep that in the back of my head when she talks about how most of her family was lost in the Holocaust. And she said that there was laughter in hell. And when I look back at those 2 years,
Why do you think gays say, oh, you're going to hell? I'll bring the ice cream.
right, right. Like we find yeah, yeah. I'm very lucky that I was able to find humor in those moments to break the tension. And I think there's nothing better than standing in front of an audience and co-regulating together and finding those moments to dip down and up, dip down and up, dip down and up. And that's what I'm excited to get back to doing in this sort of like post-therapy body. And yeah.
What's
Yeah.
really great too is that I think that it's important for queer comedians to be out there because it's all the whole fear of our community was based in the fact of not knowing who we were, and I think
Mhm.
queer comedians are breaking that down and showing we are alike. There's
Mhm.
much more that we are in the same camp in than we aren't. And I think that when you have someone like Wanda Sykes or Margaret Cho, or
Mhm.
you have a
Shawn
Joel Kim
Hitchins.
Booster,
Yeah.
Or Shawn Hitchins.
Oh.
yeah, or Shawn Hitchins, that you have these abilities to bridge our community to the mainstream and
Right.
make us more accessible and less frightening to them. And I think doing it through humor is probably one of the best ways to create that positivity from our community to the broader one, you know?
And I'm still waiting as a cis male, cis gay male comedian to see variations of masculinity, a variation of masculinity on stage in comedy. I still don't understand why there hasn't been a single stand-up special on a network by a gay male comedian. It is the one thing that I wrap my head around that at least once a week, kind of going, okay, what is going on here? And I think it's because when our neutral state of being is so threatening to masculinity, to see that on stage where you have no option but to point to it and say, this is who I am, that's when I know. And I know there's going to be like a gay male comedian with a stand-up special in the next 10 years. I know it's going to happen.
Well, in a way it kind of has. I'm going to push back on that.
Yeah.
Only because Matteo Lane.
Yeah, Matteo Lane.
Yeah, he actually there was a Netflix series of new and up and comers, and they were highlighted in each 30-minute block.
Yeah.
So there are those, and in fact, there was a lesbian one that was also in that same group. Then you have the Laugh Out Loud Fest.
Yeah. Mae Martin is also an incredible comedian. Toronto.
Joel Kim Booster.
Yeah. And it's just like, I just want to see them in the stadiums. I want to see them in the stadium. I want to see them. I want them in those giant O2 arenas, speaking directly to their experience for an hour. That's what I want. And it's going to happen.
Well, Wanda Sykes kind of is there too, so that's what she does.
Yeah.
And I hate to draw this distinction, but the lesbians have always been more accepted in comedy.
Yeah. I think it's
because they're not a threat.
Right. I think, there
are about sucking dick. We were the ones that did.
But like, why are straight male comedians so worried about that when they just hold a giant dick in their hands and talk into it for hours at a time? Like,
that's my favorite line in Pose when he and Billy Porter and MJ Rodriguez go at it. She says, "Bitch, do I come to your job and knock the dicks out your mouth?"
Yeah, I know.
I mean, but it's that kind of humor that even that's accessible between men and women. I mean, so it's like our humor can be boundless. It doesn't have to be within the confines. I mean, it's great that a queer person would have that kind of fame and the ability to be that big. I think Matteo Lane's one of them.
I think Matteo Lane is going to be, Matteo Lane is incredible. He's going to be, I'm a big fan. I think what the sad thing is, and I wrote something for the CBC about the word bitter, because it's once you reach a certain age, people start applying the word to you, saying, "Oh, wow, that's a bitter thought." And you're like, because maybe it's unresolved trauma, or something that's, still is a little bit hard to swallow. The thing that's really challenging is to know that there's just not all of a sudden there's just queer comedians out there. There have been queer comedians for the last 50, 60 years. And I think as we get into the mainstream, watching that history be erased a bit, because like all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is at the forefront. Oh, look, this is the first. These are the people that are breaking through. Oh my gosh, there's never been anybody before this person. There's that sort of, I wonder, like, I kind of want to do a project where we capture like people like Leah Delaria, and we capture like all of these incredible comedians.
Yeah, we need a celluloid closet for queer comedians.
Yeah, like a history that we can point to. Yeah, like let's. So maybe that's another challenge I'll tackle.
That sounds like a Netflix special you need to work on.
Yeah. Okay, all right. I'll
get them on the horn for you after this episode.
Can you? I just canceled my membership. Just don't tell them that. Yeah.
Too funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. it's an extraordinary time that we're living in to watch all of these things happen. But,
and the fact that we have, even though he's straight, we have a comedian that is like the most famous man in the world trying to save his country from demise. And, you know, we have, I mean, you know, every comedian I know is like, who would have thought it came from our ranks? You know, I mean, to have someone who, and I started watching his show. It's on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
You can actually see his show, and he's quite a great comedic actor. He's actually got brilliant timing. You know, and so it's really kind of interesting to see how comedians actually are, in a way, I kind of see them as the new bards of our time, because they talk about topical things, and they bring, you know, cultural issues to the fore and make you question them, make you laugh at them, make you look at them from a different perspective that maybe you hadn't considered. So I kind of think comedians are kind of, you know, I don't want to say we're in a renaissance of that, but I think it's been building for a while, and I think we're going to see more from. I mean, you have Jon Stewart now doing his new show, and he's exploring a lot of things, but he's still doing it with humor. I know, John Oliver. You've got all these shows now where comedians are using humor to actually affect change. You know,
well, and they're also pointing to the truth.
Yes.
They're going, no, here's the fact, here's the truth, this is where it's at. And you know, there's a theory in and this is going to be really boring, but I'll try to make it short. There's a theory in sort of about resolving trauma. People think that if a trauma happens to you, it's going to take years and years and years of dedicated time sitting in it to actually resolve a trauma. And the truth is that the best way for trauma to resolve is to just dip into it and dip out of it. Dip into it, dip out of it. And it's to regulate, and that's what comedians do. So if there's a spot that needs attention to, or that we need to point to, we're going to dip down, we're going to point to it, and we're going to bring it back up. And we're going to start changing and resolving trauma that way.
Nice.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else on either the state of comedy or your memoir that you want to bring up?
The state of comedy. I don't know. The state of comedy. I think if I was to connect the state of comedy and that is that we have to start. Oh, sorry, that's my sink at Gurgles. I don't know why.
It needs a drink.
My sink is parched. It's a dry sink.
Where's that martini, goddammit?
Yes. Okay, so the state of comedy. When I think about the state of comedy, I kind of wonder, at what point are we going to do solutions-based comedy? And I think that's what John Oliver and Jon Stewart and Trevor Noah are all doing. They're doing solutions-based. They're pointing to something that needs to change or to work. And I would like to see that be applied to the wave of stand-up specials coming out. I love Hannah Gadsby. I think Hannah Gadsby is one of the best comedic writers of our time. And I know that there was a lot of pushback of saying that's not comedy. And I actually think it is comedy. And I think it is the future of comedy.
Right. No, I agree.
Nice.
I agree. For me, it was reminiscent of when Whoopi Goldberg first hit the scene, and she had her Broadway show way back in the day, her one-woman show, where she would do these, it was a laugh out loud hilarious, and then she would hit you with a piece of drama that would just make you think, oh, man, you know, and then she'd rise again. It's exactly what you're talking about, that dip, and, you know, so. That's my hope. More Hannah Gadsby, more Mae Martin, more Matteo Lane. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And more Shawn Hitchins.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll drag my 40-year-old ass on the stage and be like, well, this is what it's like to be happy. Yeah. I have achieved happiness. Great.
Yay, team.
Yay.
And you have sort of teased my next question. Okay. What's up next for you?
What's up next for me? What is up next for me? We're all sort of trying to figure out where the arts have landed after the lockdown here, which Toronto had the longest lockdown in the world. It was almost a year and a half, almost 2 years. So the theaters are only starting to open up right now. So I am also waiting for my green card, which has been approved. And so I'm in limbo there. And I've sort of made this statement to myself. It's sort of a protest that I am only willing to create in the US or in another country at this point. So I think I'm gonna probably take that to a therapy session and work that out. And then after, I think I'm gonna explore fiction, and I got to get back on stage and start making people laugh again.
Nice.
Making myself laugh again. So
yeah.
So you heard it here first. Breaking news: Midge Maisel is hitting the stage again.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
What social is the best for people to follow you?
I keep deleting all my accounts, but I think Instagram. I
Find me.
No, it's like try to find me on social media. At Shawn.
You're the new Where's Waldo.
Yeah, I am. Yes. So you can try to engage me on Instagram at Shawn Hitchins. I'm on Twitter once every 3 weeks, trying to say something nice. It doesn't really work on Twitter. I avoid Facebook because of my family. And or you could just I don't know, email me. Email me and talk to me there. That's fine. Yeah. Perfect. Meet me at a park. Let's have coffee. Let's connect in real life. But follow me on social media. Yeah.
So to get your email address, they should go to your website.
Yeah, sure. Oh my God. Yeah. If anybody listens to this and then emails me, I will email them back, and then we'll be pen pals for life.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Any final words of wisdom?
No. I don't know. I don't have.
There may be wisdom in that.
My wisdom is get off. Okay, here's my wisdom. I was I know we have to be very brief. I was cycling down the road, and I saw an influencer mom with a perfect golden retriever, a baby, and one of those trendy ponchos with a hat, and she was walking down the street with her phone in her hand and her baby here and a dog, and she almost walked into traffic. My wisdom is get off your iPhones and be present with people. That's my wisdom.
Perfect. And thank you.
Yeah.
Don't Pokemon yourself right off a cliff.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know. Yeah.
Best message of the day, folks, right here.
Yeah.
Be present.
Yes. All right. Well, Written on the Edge is produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.rotepodcast.com. If you enjoy learning about new artists, please like and subscribe so you get alerts for new episodes. We'd like to extend a huge thank you to Shawn Hitchins for being with us. Shawn, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, as I bob.
Now, pick up the light stream beneath it, but then go to ShawnHitchins.com and find his email address, and you'll have a pen pal for life. We'll talk to you all again soon.
Where are you now, Shawn?
Right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, what's that?
Closing time.
The bums rush in melody, dear.